You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And sort of following on that last question from the Chair, I want to start with a kind of basic question. Is it too early to start thinking about the next infrastructure bill? Secretary Millar.
Mr. Larsen, I started thinking about the bill the moment the president signed the last bill. And
give us time, man.
It is not too late to start thinking about authorization. We're fortunate that the Congress, in its wisdom, has a multi-year authorization in the transportation space. But the ramping up for a sustained level of investment requires more than 5 years. It requires, it takes generations. We're asking contractors to invest in equipment. We're asking consulting firms to staff up and buy materials and the like, knowing that there's going to be a robust and sustained level of federal commitment in the transportation space enables us to do our job better and more efficiently for the people we serve.
We've had that issue every time we've tried to do reauthorization. I'm glad we were able to do it, but perhaps, Ms. Benford, you can talk a little bit about your comment with regards to, this is not a quote, but I'll just try to paraphrase. We are just now starting to be able to invest as contractors in the longer term in the rebuild as opposed to just the repair.
Right. So currently a lot of these projects are in design, right? So we haven't seen a lot of them come out to bid. And so we're really expecting that this will hit us in the next year as contractors to bid this work, and then it'll be a 5 to 6 year process for us to complete this work. And I think it's important, no, it's not too soon to start thinking about another bill because, as Secretary mentioned, we are working really hard to ramp up our workforce, and there is a lot of excitement in our industry right now as they see that there is a sustainable amount of work for them to complete. And so I think it would be beneficial to let the workforce know that it's a long-term game, not just this next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I know when this is signed, the President said this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. I like to think like this is a pretty boring once every 5 to 6 year opportunity that we just routinely do, as opposed to every generation. So hopefully we can get to that point. Mr. Tucker, from a supply chain perspective, how would you characterize the BIL and like specific areas that are perhaps where the TIA is looking at?
Sure. I hesitate to sound like a broken record, but again, some of the issues with
repetition is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It takes us a while to absorb what you all are hearing, and hearing it over and over again is a good thing.
A former administrator, Ann Farrow, appointed me once to a committee helping FMCSA, so I got to really know and appreciate. And one of my good industry friends is a former administrator of FMCSA, so I got to know and like and appreciate the people there. But I think from time to time, as what happens in Washington, they get clouded by lots of different ideas that may or may not be important or relevant to safety. So that's a concern. But specific to your question and specific to infrastructure, I will tell you that what we're seeing is, and I don't know how many members here have been to the border, to Laredo, the crossing. I've been there and toured it, and it's a heck of a thing. But I'm here to tell you, too, that there's a tremendous amount of manufacturing being brought back to the Americas, in particular to Mexico, due to all of our tensions with China, all of the concerns around single point of failures with regard to critical goods that we were only buying from China. So that crossing, all of the Mexican crossings are going to be, that's talk about a generational thing, that is happening right now. And we all know how much freight came from China and the Far East. A lot more of it's going to be coming through the borders, and of course we have security concerns there as well.
Thanks. I would note, by Washington, you mean Washington, D.C., and not the great state of Washington.
Not the great state, no.
Or we have no problems.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure, yeah, great. Mr. Edwards, you mentioned Water Resources Development Act, and we're going to be moving on that fairly soon here. From a broader perspective, what would you want us to know about passing WRDA 24?
I think we asked the question about what next on bill from a funding perspective.
I believe there's about $5.2 billion for ports within the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That is more money than has ever gone into the port sector from the federal government. So this is a generational opportunity for ports to make their upgrades. I do believe that certain parts of that will have to continue over a significant amount of time, particularly as we look at energy hubs. Energy hubs is somewhat new in the port for a number of port sectors, and it will require multi-year. We're going to have to be pretty strict at sticking to the task to make those energy hubs work.
That's great. Thanks so much, Yield Ben.